Okay, we will call the meeting to order. We're meeting in regular session, May 27th, 2026. All board members are present. Is there a motion to accept the agenda?
So moved. Second.
Okay, we have a motion and second. All in favor indicate by saying aye. The agenda is accepted and recognitions are next.
I'm going to turn it over to you, Mr. Elmore.
Thank you all for being here tonight. We're here to recognize our first group ever in Frankfurt Independent, what we call our backpack booklets. And so how that started, we had about 60 students at Second Street. We want to make sure they had reading support. You should have hopefully received some material. And also we had, starting off, about 12 high school students that volunteered. Then it was 20, then it was 25, and I think we got up to about 29 high school students that volunteered their time one day a week to come over and spend some time with the students at Second Street. So we're gonna recognize, and we're gonna be as quick as we can, 93 students. So let's give a round of applause for that. And this is part of the literacy grant that we have. You can hear a lot about that over the next 3 years. And it's really to improve reading, but also it's to promote reading. And this is one of those ways that we recognize those students, especially the ones at the high school that dedicated their time close to 20 to 30 hours. I'm gonna ask Ms. Ball to come in and help me. Anytime you have an idea like this, you've got to make sure you have administrative support and also somebody to kind of what I call take the reins, and Ms. Balker is willing to do that. So she's gonna read the names off, and students, as your name's read, you'll come up here. You'll get your certificate, you'll be recognized, we'll take a picture, and afterwards, for the families and students, we have some slushes down in the cafeteria. So we'll dismiss all at the same time. I figured that'd be a good way to end our year with our book bags, okay? So Ms. Ball, without delay, let's read here first. Yeah.
And Beckham West. Taylor Miller. Jamie Solomon. Charles Owen. Eli Brown. Henry Cole. Avery Clark. Brent. Patch Gordon. Landon Day. Johnny Canal. Diego Hall. Anderson Hodge. Maya Jackson. Bennett Hearn. Olivia Reynolds. Ashley Shout. Aubrey Matthews. Kennedy Harper. Okay. All right. Can hold through that.
Thanks.
All right.
You have several that could not make it, but I'm gonna have Mrs. Ball read those names very quickly, if that's okay. Because we do want to make sure they get recognized. We'll hold our applause to the very end. We'll do it first. Thank you.
Rosie Hare, Diego Armstrong, Kamari Bevers, Catherine Brito Sedilla, Ayana Burton, Haley Burgess, Aaliyah Brown, Sophia Levens, Canada Black, Marlo Burton, Alex Bryant, Lincoln Blevins, Calliope Carver, Jessica Chappie, Jakari Calhoun, Paulo Corsini, Cam Crocker, Ryan Driscoll, Elle Fulkerson, Rajon Floyd, Logan Fields, Anakin George, Noah Greer, Silas Hart, Bella Holtz, J.C. Hampton, Stella Hood, Josiah Hood, Halo Jackson, Daniel Jackson, Moses Jenkins, Weston Kirk, Rosie Lee, Sage Larquente, Liam Lyons, Henry Lee, Cody Miles, Taylor Madison, Axton Martin, Remy Martin, Logan McDonald, Kendall McCormick, Bonnie McGrath, Grayson O'Connell, Juan Perez, Cecilia Perez, Sarah Keith, Ashton Reeves, Jelani Radcliffe, Matthew Roberts, Lyric Reader, Amir Redford, Stella Reynolds, Madeline Stamos, Jasper Schaus, Franklin Sanger, Ava Satterley, Embry Thomas, Grayson Harper, Madeline Hubel, Aubrey Harville, Bryson Walker, Evelyn Wright, Eli Wilson, Xavier Wiley, Toma Washington, Payson Weaver, Autumn Wardlow, Harlem Yet, and Mia Zinga.
The success of this was so good, we're actually gonna have it for every kindergarten, first, second, and third and fourth graders next year. So we'll be expanding the program and hopefully the high schoolers as well. One last round of applause.
Grayson Walker.
All right,
Get a
everybody,
picture.
this way. Count of three. Bob, are you gonna get in with them? One, two, three.
Thank you. What an impressive group. Great job, Ms. Vaught. I think you want. is that-
Come with me to traffic. Well, I have fun. Thank you all. Give me to it.
Can you what? Max is not saying. No, you can get my phone from Miss Catherine. Can he sit beside you? Go ahead, slushies with that. Huh? Yeah, you can go get a slushie and then come back up. It's just one of those days where you wish you could just go back to bed, like. Yes. Very.
Working mom.
He wasn't supposed to be here with me.
We need to take a picture of that. You post it. This is what working mom life is like. How does he, how he's what? He's 7.
He'll be 8.
7-year-old. No, yeah.
8 next week. And he's so tired right now
Yeah,
because
he
it's
is,
the end of the year.
He still needs a nap.
It's some days. Did you see that? You didn't see John's. Something. You need to go look it up. Girl. Okay, what?
I guess I'll ask him. I would appreciate it. Stop having, I'll tell you later. I'm like, oh, this is kind of. Yeah, but I haven't been this, hopefully something was wrong, we don't correct it. But how we felt no work was,
Oh,
okay. We have a nice job.
it was simple. It was addition and subtraction.
Okay, no one has asked to address us this evening, so we move to reports. You've received the personnel report. The next report is the orders of the treasurer. Are there any, or, go ahead.
Just a few things. On page 2, you have 3 bond payments that we made, and those are existing bonds, so just wanted to point those out. You saw on a couple of pages, some utilities assistance, for some of our families who needed assistance in certain months. We either use Frisky, to pay for that, or there's a small pot of money in Title I that has to be used for, our homeless population, so we use some of that as well. You do on page 2, another first time, long time reimbursement. I put in my notes, I love highlighting these. This is a program, it's been a game changer for us in retaining staff. We have a few people that are leaving the district that we had invested in, but we are recouping that and putting that right back into new staff. So nice to highlight that. I think we said 17 people on retention contracts right now. We did a big district paper order. It came in on a big pallet. We order it that way for the next school year. It's much more cost effective to do so. Some literacy grant purchases throughout. We are at the point where, if you remember when we got the literacy grant, year 1 and year 2 were to be, it's actually it's a 5-year grant over a 4-year period of time. So year 1 and year 2 were both to be spent in the first year. So we are spending down what's left of that just so we don't lose it. Because if we don't spend it, we lose it. The final payment for our dugout rental for baseball and softball was on page 4. The FCC radio license. I started that, but didn't finish it in my notes apparently. That is for our bus radios. We pay that every few years, so our bus radios can communicate across town. And then you see some Frisky purchases at the bottom of page 5 for end of year, for assistance for end of year events, project graduation, things like that, field trips, things like that.
Okay, are there any questions, comments? You have anything, Becky? No. If there are no questions, is there a motion to approve the orders of the treasurer? We have a motion and second. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay, the orders are approved. Next is the monthly treasurer's report.
So we have a report for April 2026. For the general fund, we took in almost $479,000 with expenditures of $712,000, taking our balance at the end of the month to $2,541,000. Building fund, we have not, we did not expend or take anything into that. With the balance there, $640,000. Construction fund was 0 for April, but I know we have some activities planned for the summer that should start rolling shortly. Food service fund took in $86,000 with $73,000 in expenditures. And FILA took in $7,121 with expenditures of $11,700.
Okay, any questions, comments? Okay, we look to be in good shape. Thank you, Mr. Rupert. Okay, next is the consent agenda. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Second.
We have a motion and second. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
The motion carries and the consent agenda is approved. Okay, we're ready for presentations. This time we have a Frankfurt High School update.
Just a second, Mr. Rogers. I can't share right now. Sit there. Yes.
Jack, you can go get a slushie. I'll give you permission. Oh, now he's.
What's the plan with his friends?
They're leaving.
You wanna come up here and sit with us? We got a seat right here.
Yeah.
Come on.
Yep.
All right, well,
Sorry about that.
hard to believe it's already a week and a half left in school, but here we are at the end of the 2025-26 school year. One more update on all things Frankfurt High. Worked with my team again to give you an update on the three things you heard about, last time we met in February. Where we are on kind of our three main focuses for the year. First, behavior and culture. This is Mr. Peach's main focus as the Dean of Students, working on behavior with students, some of that positive motivation and our culture school-wide. We got our third quarter rewards trip. We took our sophomore class to Retro Social with pizza and games for the afternoon. They kind of won for the third quarter. We did a longer competition of just really doing the right stuff, the things we want to see here at Frankfurt High, that we get points different weeks for doing different things, being on track, being in classes, doing what you need to do. So they won. We were able to take them up there. Part of that is with some money that comes from the National Guard. We get $1,500 a year from them. They do that for all the local schools to reward students. So we were able to use those funds to get them pizza and take them up on that trip. We're using the rest of that tomorrow for our fourth quarter reward. So KSA, you are allowed to reward good faith effort. Obviously, we won't have those results till September of next year, but you can reward good faith effort on the test. And so we will, our sophomores and juniors, talk to them about taking the test seriously, how much that matters for the school. And those who met all our good faith effort criteria are going to go to the pool tomorrow afternoon. Luckily, the rain is gone, at least for now. Hopefully, looks to be a nice afternoon tomorrow. So our sophomores and juniors will be up at 4. As we looked back at kind of data from the end of this year, Mr. Peach looked at where we need to focus our efforts next year. From 2026-27 school year, our major behavior improvement for students is really being in class and being in class on time. 48% of our office referrals come from students that are skipping class or targeted class, which is a good place to have your biggest behavior referral, as opposed to, fights and things like that. But still something we really want to figure out, why is that kind of a chronic problem for the students. We really think this is mostly social emotional factors. Students that get behind and don't have some of those coping mechanisms and kind of avoid classes because they're worried about getting caught up in their work, or we have some drama which happens in high school between students, and then they decide I'm going to avoid that class because they're in there. So we're looking at both that and then our dual credit structures, because a lot of those classes are asynchronous. There's not a professor in person. They're done online. A lot of those structures are on a weekly basis where assignments are posted on Sunday for the week. So students have some days where they may be done with that work, and then some other friends on to other classes. So we are looking first, we're hiring a new school counselor because Ms. Profit is retiring. And so what we're looking at first and foremost there is one that really has those social emotional skills, and has a background in being able to meet with small groups and individual counseling. I think this is going to help, for those students that maybe don't have those social emotional tools, making sure we have the staff there to meet with those students and meet their needs. Mr. Peach has observed that a lot of times when he's meeting with those students, maybe you're outside of class or a targeted class. That's kind of that common theme. And so that's our first plan of attack. And then a more structured approach with those teachers we have that are facilitating their dual credit courses. Even though it's a dual credit teacher at K-State that is doing it online asynchronously, we have a teacher here in the class with those students. And so we're looking at what are those things they need for some daily routines? How do we make sure they're getting some of those college skills? And we have stuff every day that's happening in those classes so that they're a little more invested in it. So that's kind of our long-term goal based on where we think we are with. Moving on to Ms. Traylor and her work with special testing and intervention this year. This was our first year that iReady was back at the high school as part of the literacy grant, having needed personal screener at all grade levels. So we administered that iReady test in the fall, the winter, and the spring. Here's our results from those 3 tests. First, the bright spots, we had growth over every test in every grade level. Our biggest growth at the 11th grade, which is our testing grade with ACT. So we're excited about that, up to by the end of the year, to have over 60% of those kids on benchmark or above. We obviously still have some work to do because we want to see, we're up to over half our kids on benchmark, which is a great starting point. Now, how do we continue that momentum? So we're excited to see the growth over the course of the year. Now, we want to see all those up a little higher next year. So we'll see them start higher and continue to maintain those growth goals. SAT, this is the first year we gave the SAT. We knew we had some limited prep. We didn't know what tests we were going to have this year. So here's those results. We went by benchmark. So the sophomore and the junior benchmarks are different. Sophomore cumulative is a 910, reading and writing is a 430, and math is 480. Jumps up by junior year to cumulative of 1,000. That's reading and writing at 490 and math of 510 or above. The graphs are a little bit different in terms of the data we have here because we only had sophomores opt in to take the test. Juniors are the ones that take it as a requirement. You see that on our score report card. We were able to get funding from you all to allow sophomores that wanted to opt in to take that test. We had 19 that opted in. And so these are their benchmark averages based on those 19 that took it. So our junior averages are higher. The requirements for those benchmarks are higher, and we had more kids taking that. It's our whole junior class. So we were really excited to see this as a baseline score. It's a baseline score. We haven't given the SAT yet, so we had our practices, but this is really the first time we're seeing those scores. So we're excited to be able to compare those next year, but we don't have anything to compare to for our past scores. In terms of those reading and writing benchmark, we were really excited to see how many kids are already at or above that benchmark. That is a transition readiness marker for our junior class and as they move into senior class. So we had more kids hit that than hit it on the ACT. Usually that was a pretty hard one to hit on the ACT to have either that reading, math, or composite benchmark score there. So again, we're excited for that to be our benchmark and our baseline, see where we're going next. There was some legislation at the very end of the legislative session, bids, so we're back to not knowing what test it's going to be next year. We are planning on it being the SAT again. I believe when they put out projections with the budget, it's going to be hard for ACT to come in and then beat that. So we're going to start with prepping for the SAT. We're going to hope that's where we're going. We had some good experience with that test. Obviously, if that changes, we'll move over to ACT. It won't hurt to prep for the SAT and then move over. That's where we're going to start. Upcoming changes, again, Lauren put in for the first time our reading intervention plan at the high school. As we said, this was a big rock for us in the fall. There's not a lot of reading intervention that happens at the high school level. A lot of high schoolers, it's kind of, they can't read by the time they get to us. People say they just need to read more. We know that doesn't work. So we started and we had that year-long intervention for our freshmen in the class. And then our sophomores and juniors had twice a week during CREST for 30 minutes, more intensive reading intervention. We saw some success with that. We think that is why our iReady scores went where they did. We looked at how we could tweak it to make it better. So first, we're moving that year-long course from freshman year to sophomore year. Because we have more limited data on that freshman class, because they're coming in to us for the first time. We had a good start, but we ended up having kids move out and into that class just based on those iReady scores being the only measure we had when they come into us. We feel like we are better able to find those sophomores that are going to need that more intensive intervention. Known them for a year, had them in classes. And so we're moving that full year-long class to sophomore. We're also splitting that math and reading. One thing we saw is we have 75-minute block classes. That is too much time for intervention. You can't do intervention for 75 minutes. And so we adapted that class for the course of this year. Ms. Bukowski, who teaches our freshman math class, and Mr. Day, who teaches our freshman English class, are going to do that intervention because they know those kids from freshman year. They know what they got in those classes. They know what they need. So we're going to split that block. So half of that time they're getting reading intervention. Half that time they're getting a math intervention. And we really feel like with the sophomore year, that's going to help our kids that are struggling the most build those skills and make the gains we need for junior and senior year for them to be successful. We are going to add in a year-long CREST intervention for 9th graders. So this year we only had that for 10th and 11th graders. And then we had our year-long course for 9th graders. This year, we're going to do 9 through 11 during that mentoring time. So Tuesdays and Thursdays, for 30 minutes, they have that reading intervention that we follow these reading protocols. And so fluency, vocabulary acquisition, and then syntax analysis and word morphology. There's 4 kind of protocols we can go through with those students. It's at grade level, it's intensive. We saw a lot of success with it this year because it's that just-in-time work with high school students rather than going back and trying to teach them how we teach first graders. That doesn't work with high schoolers. And so we're going to expand that to all 3 grade levels, and then move that course up to sophomore. Those are the biggest changes. Portrait of a Panther, Mr. Heckersworth, who just finished a rapid fire day today of our junior roundtables. So senior presentations, this was the first year we did tracks. Usually we had the one day at the end of the year they did them, which was good. But we see different placements and different students having some different presentation styles. So we opened it up this year. If they met the different benchmarks they had to meet to do their presentations early, they had more choice in how they did this. So they could do a site visit, and have a panel come to where they're doing their internship and show them kind of what they're doing and how that works. They could do a video where they kind of do a day in the life, what they're doing, and then answer questions. They could do the traditional presentation. We did that first round already last month. Our junior or senior presentations that needed more time, those will be tomorrow. So those are the more traditional ones. And then juniors are the ones we focused on this year. So we've worked with them all year. We do a junior roundtable with them. And so instead of doing the same presentation they do senior year, we wanted to help them get ready for those internships. So that one is really geared towards why they're ready for that internship, what they're going to do. And it's a roundtable discussion where they get feedback on resume, they get feedback on interview skills, they get feedback on cover letter before they're going out and trying to secure those internships. So right now, they are preparing for those placements. They're securing those placements for next year after finishing those presentations. So we're excited about that. Next steps there. So our big goal is to go beyond now 11th grade. We need to be down 9, 10, 11 with Portrait of a Panther, making this more of that district initiative again, and then hopefully working back down to middle school after that. So we're going to integrate that weekly with our 9th and 10th graders. We're talking about doing some student-led parent experiences with those skills. So there's not a lot of parent conferences at the high school level. Bringing those in and focusing those quarterly on the profile of Panther skills. So those students leading their parents through, how am I doing these skills? How am I developing? That's going to give those freshmen and sophomores a little bit of skin in the game. It's nice to have those meetings that students are leading, teachers are for support. Doing it through mentoring, we think will be helpful because those people are communicating home early and often with our students, so they should already have that relationship. Starting to collect that stuff early on. We saw a lot with our senior presentations where when they're putting those together at the end of senior year, a lot of those artifacts came from senior year. There's a lot of learning that happens 9 through 12. And a lot of what we want to highlight is how they're growing. So we want to start collecting a lot of that stuff as 9th graders, as 10th graders, as 11th graders. So that presentation can really show growth, and I can say, hey, here's something for freshman year I thought was great. Look at where I am now, senior year, look at how much I've grown, and make those a little more dimension. And then again, the goal is Mr. Hecker to start next year working to integrate that with Second Street. Working with a group of teachers that's willing and wants to do this at the middle school level to figure out what does that look like. So as a school, we look towards 26, 27. Really, we want to continue, not change our focus, continue our work with coherence. So making sure instead of scattershot of 30 initiatives, we know we can't keep track of, really focusing on those things we think are moving the needle. So our identity, that climate and culture, and really making Frankfurt High what it could be at its best. And that's what we're all kind of in it for the same things. That reading intervention, again, something that we've really revived this year. We're seeing a lot we believe in, and then instructional growth with those teachers. Tested culture, we're supporting KSA and SAT, bringing those skills in the classroom. The more students are exposed to it, the more comfortable they are on those tests, the better able we're seeing, we are to see that improvement. Mentoring connection, so making sure, again, we bring back that mentoring. Family school connection is huge. We are connecting with home, and they know what's going on in the school, and we know what's going on with them. We're able to meet those students where they are. So really focusing again on our mentoring, especially with our new teachers. They understand what that is and why we care so much about that. And then I'm working with teacher-led committees to look at how we improve these things. Help us improve instructional practices, our mentoring and culture. They're the ones in the classroom, they're the ones that see things sometimes we don't. So working with them on this process, I've met with all 3 of those committees over the last 3 weeks to look at where we want to start. One of our big things that's going to be a big change is less classroom screen time. So working on moving next year, being really intentional about how we're using technology. We went 1-to-1, that's fantastic. I love all the resources our kids have. But really after COVID, we see in a lot of schools that shifted towards being on screens all the time. We're trying to kind of look at how we're a little more responsible with that with our kids, our teachers. Strong mentoring. The teachers talked about how they really want to get back into making sure we have that support, to reach out to parents and get in contact with them and stay in contact. And then opportunities for teachers to get together and build that relationship. So Sunshine Committee to make sure they feel like they're supported and they feel like they have that connection with each other. So when they're connected to school, you know, that it does. So that's where we are right now in high school.
Any questions, comments? Good work. Thank you. Maybe. Next order of business is discussion of a staff raise for next year.
Sure. The board has seen budgets with both a 2% raise and with no raise, and I'm coming to you tonight recommending a 2% raise for all staff members for the 26-27 school year. We are in a good place where our contingency fund is sitting at a healthy 15-ish, Mr. Rupert, percent. And that's low estimating revenue, because we like to be conservative, and we estimate high on step raises so that we're nice and surprised when it's not as high as we think it was. So if you remember in 22-23, we gave a 2%, and then we didn't give anything in 23-24, and then the board gave a very generous 24-25, 5%. And again, in 25-26, didn't give one after that very generous 5%. So moving into next year, my recommendation is to approve a 2% raise for all staff.
And I'll just comment and say that we are in a place where this the board is very comfortable in doing this. And for us as a district, because our tax revenue is restricted, you know, we really have to keep an eye on revenues and cash flow and take hard looks every time at our budget. But the board has consistently, when the opportunity was there and the time was right budgetarily, given raises. And you know, it may seem in the years where we don't that we're not supportive of staff. That's not true at all. We just have to be very, very careful because we're small, and you know, we always have to be mindful of cash flow and other expenses that might arise. But we recognize the hard work that staff does on a daily basis, and obviously none of our staff is here for the money, or they wouldn't be here, right? They could go next door. So it, you know, it is an honor anytime we can provide a raise. And we all recognize staff is extremely worthy of it and hope it makes some small difference. So, any other comments? Okay, is there a motion to approve a 2% raise for school year 26-27?
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay, the motion carries and the raise is approved. The next item on the agenda is the tentative budget.
And you've already seen the tentative budget. Of course, the 2% raise will be included when Mr. Rupert uploads it to KDE for approval. And the one we added back in, the one position that was inadvertently left out that we discussed in closed session. But you'll also have another chance to see the budget when we have a more in September for the working budget, when we have a more firm idea of what SEEK's going to look like and hire and attrition and things like that. So,
and that's another thing that figures into raises is the SEEK forecasts that come out. You know, we don't get the final until September. So it's kind of backwards, you know, because we're trying to budget and, you know, approve raises, and we really don't even know. And, I have been here when our seek was adjusted so dramatically that we had to do layoffs. So, in a small district, it can turn on a dime. And so when we get that final seek forecast, we'll have a much more concrete budget for final approval in September.
I will also tell you just a little tidbit of information for next year. Mr. Rupert is working on a donation letter to send to all tax exempt properties in the district to see if they would like to donate to the district in lieu of paying their taxes.
And we have had one property owner, as long as I have been on the board, that has done that, paid in lieu taxes. And I haven't checked to make sure they're doing that in the last couple of years,
are.
but
They
the
do.
Kentucky Bar Association
Yep, every year.
pays, sends us a check in lieu of taxes every single year. So kudos to them for recognizing the
So,
situation.
we discussed it and we just kind of decided, all they can say is no. So why not try?
Okay, are there any questions or comments on the tentative budget that is up for approval tonight? I think it's healthy and we're in a pretty good place right now, and so no one really has to lose sleep. And not Mr. Rupert might occasionally. So, okay, if there are no comments, is there a motion to approve the tentative budget?
Second.
We have a motion and second. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries and the budget is approved. And we are now to superintendent's comments.
This is just it's not moving as fast as my computer. We have gone through each of the 5 standards over the last 5 meetings, and I just put them all here just for, we are finishing up this pilot year of us being one of the districts that piloted the proposed new superintendent standards, moving it from 7 standards to 5 standards. Of course, standard 1 is strategic leadership, standard 2, instructional leadership, standard 3, cultural leadership, standard 4, human resource leadership, and standard 5, operational leadership. So that's just an overview of what we've gone over the last few meetings. Big news, last week, Frankfort High School baseball ended a 23-year drought, 2 droughts actually, 23 years since the last time they beat Franklin County and 23 years since the last time they appeared in the region baseball tournament. So pretty big accomplishment for those guys. We do have a new principal named for Second Street School. Her name is Miss Sarah Goodrich. I could go into all the details about her, but there's a press release out there. She will be with us on June 1st at the staff appreciation dinner. So she will be around on June 1st and June 8th for sure. We are hiring. So we do have a few certified positions open in both buildings. Now, some of these may be in the works, but I left them on the graphics just because we haven't officially hired in some of these positions yet. Of course, hiring is a slippery slope right now just because it's a problem everywhere, but we are very open and trying to actively recruit people to come to Frankfort Independent and take these positions. And we do have a lot of good hires already, I would say, and we do have lots of applications still coming in. I love these pictures. Our library and archives grant, we have, I think, 51 boxes so far boxed up to send on June 1st to get digitized, and several more still to go. So they are coming next Monday at 10 o'clock to pick up the boxes. They'll put them on a pallet, wrap them, take them, digitize them, and they'll send back to us. They'll send it all back to us. And some of it we do have to keep paper copies, but some of it we get to say goodbye to permanently. A couple of other athletic accomplishments. So not only was it the first time our baseball team competed in the region tournament in 23 years, but we also had Will Bashir selected to first team all region and an all state nominee. Travis McConaughey was chosen by his peers in the 11th region as coach of the year. And at the Class A state track and field meet last week, we had some medal winners in the unified events, which are beautiful events if you've never gotten to witness them. Joe Larson and Paolo Corsini, who is actually a foreign exchange student, were state runner-up in the 2x200 meter relay and third place in the unified long jump. And then Joe Larson and Everett Fallis placed fifth in shot put and seventh in the 2x50 meter relay. And then my last slide is a thank you to Miss Sams for 10 years of dedicated service to the students and families of Second Street School. And I think some board members maybe wanted to make some comments.
I do. First of all, Sam, 10 years in today's world is a long time to stay with any one school. So I personally appreciate your longevity. And you always made me feel welcome in your building. I appreciate that. But just to give you a little history, Sam and I became kind of late night telephone text buddies because Sam's first year as principal was during COVID. And what a way for a new principal to begin their administrative career. So I don't know if we did a great job, but we sure gave it the effort. And Sam's kind of a night owl like me, so we had some late night text and phone calls and tried to figure it out. And but I appreciate your service, and your resignation was on the April 27th personnel report. I did not mention it that night because I didn't know who knew and who didn't. I didn't want to be the one to spill the beans. So, but we appreciate your service to the district and wish you well in your future. So, thank you.
Thank you.
I just wanted to say thank you for not batting an eye when I called up and said, hey, I've got 10 folks from South Korea who want to come and look at the school and hang out with the food prints class. And thank you very much for making them all welcome. They had a great time that day. And I would like to get back to food prints soon. I always loved coming over and doing that. So thanks for always making me feel welcome when I come.
I have very fond memories just because of Maxwell. We made it through COVID because you were very hands-on and you made sure all of us parents navigating that space were okay. And I had a couple of freak out moments, and you definitely responded, was always there for Max and I. So thank you so much. Much appreciated.
That's my last slide.
Okay. That concludes our public business for the evening, and we will now go into closed session with a motion pursuant to KRS 156-557 for the discussion regarding superintendent evaluation. Do we have that motion?
So
We have a motion and a second. All in favor indicate by saying aye. Motion carries, and we'll move into closed session.